The Forerunner 55 is the cheapest running GPS watch from Garmin, coming in at roughly $200. But spoilers for the rest of the video, you can get it even cheaper if you buy it refurbished, which is what I did. But does the low price cut too many features? Quick note up front, I did buy this refurbished Forerunner 55 with my own money. And here are the specs, so I don't have to talk about them anymore. Okay, we got that out of the way. Let's talk about what I've liked and what I've disliked after a couple of weeks using this basic, but ultimately useful running watch. Let's get the dislikes out of the way up front, and I'm going to try really hard to keep the dislikes away from something that could be affected by cost. This is a budget watch, so I'm not gonna try to hold budget type stuff against it, if that makes sense. First off, I don't really like that the Forerunner 55 has a proprietary USB-A to Garmin charger. Yes, all smartwatch type watches have some kind of a unique charger for their particular ecosystem. Apple does the same thing, right? But this one feels especially egregious because it's small, the connector looks pretty fragile, it seems easily breakable, or at least easily losable, which is I lose stuff all the time, so if you came to a YouTube channel looking for somebody to be happy about proprietary chargers, this is not the YouTube channel for you. The next thing I've disliked is actually using the watch. And I don't know that it's the watch's fault. It's probably more from me being used to Apple smartwatches with all the touchscreens and all the easy interfaces for too long. Navigating through the Forerunner's menus, it does feel kind of clunky and unintuitive in 2025. I don't hate it. I spent a decade using an old Casio Pathfinder as a watch, and that was super basic. It was just a digital watch that told time and had an alarm. But there's a lot more in this that you gotta functionally sort through, right? Because I have disliked those things though, that doesn't mean I dislike the watch. In fact, there are a ton of things that I've liked after the past couple of weeks. First, the price is insane. $150 for this powerful of a fitness tracking watch is crazy. I do think though, if you were to buy it brand new from Garmin, $200 is probably a little steep, but if you have to have it brand new, you can find it for around $170 or less. That's pretty good, especially when you consider all these other likes that we're gonna get to shortly. The next big like is all the data it tracks. It does heart rate, speed, pace, all the standard stuff, but it's the specificity and the accuracy at this price that's the like. This is a very accurate tool, and while I wasn't expecting it to be bad, I was surprised at how useful the tracked information is compared to my, 5 or 6 times more expensive Apple Watch Ultra. I've also really liked the battery life. Fun fact, since I charged this battery to full when I initially bought it, I haven't charged it yet. This has only been charged once, and it looks like we're still over half battery life on this thing. That's crazy. Garmin says you can get up to 2 weeks of battery life here. Yes, I feel like the battery life could also be a negative thing. Hear me out. I feel like it could be a negative thing because I guarantee, because I'm not gonna know where the cable is in these long interims, there is a higher chance of me losing it, but look, more battery is more better when it comes to personal tech. I'm not gonna argue that. This might be a small thing, and maybe I'm just weird. Well, I mean, I know I'm weird, but maybe I'm weirder. But I love the little beeps and boops the watch makes when it does anything. Starting a run, it beeps. Do a lap, it beeps. Maybe this will get annoying in the future as I use it more, but for now, I just love the way it sounds. I love the sounds. It's so much better than the crappy AI voice I'm used to hearing. The next like is a pretty big one, and honestly, it surprised me. I'm currently training for my very first marathon, and I'm using an app called Runna to develop the plan and manage my workouts inside of the workout. What I mean by that is when I'm running, the app on my watch tells me when I'm running too slow, when I'm running too fast, when it's time to change pace during a particular workout. I thought the only way to get that kind of functionality would be a high-end smartwatch, but no. Even this budget Garmin can sync through my phone to Runna, and the watch will still handle all of those specific intervals and tempo workouts. It doesn't talk to me like my Apple Watch does, but it does give me all those notifications and beeps and boops that I like so much. And at this price, I think that's incredible. You don't have to pay for the app like I'm paying for to develop the plan. You can also use Garmin's recommendations for running workouts and their training plans to do the exact same thing. I personally haven't used Garmin's training program, so I can't speak for their efficacy. I like that it's there, that it's an option, and you don't have to pay extra for it. Another thing that I've liked about this experience isn't the watch specifically, but it's the Garmin Connect app. Look, there are a ton of sports tracking apps out there anymore, and they all do roughly the same thing. But I'd have to say that this one is probably my favorite in terms of layout and design. I've been incredibly frustrated with Apple Fitness recently, and the Garmin app looks better, shows the data I want to see, and syncs better across Garmin's ecosystem and all of the other consumer tech that I use when I want to view this stuff. Something that's not a like, but something that I thought would be a dislike, but isn't. That doesn't even make any sense. Does that make it a like in the aggregate? This screen is not as good as if you're used to a smartwatch. It's not LED or OLED or any other fancy screen, but it has a built-in light that can you see it? You're not gonna be able to see it in the studio. But what's nice is that it automatically triggers when you raise your wrist to look at the screen. As somebody that runs at 4 a.m. routinely, I was worried that I would have to tap the button every time I wanted to see the screen, which a personal fault of mine is that I obsessively look at my watch during a run, which I probably shouldn't do as much. But thankfully, this lights up when I need it, so I can always see it without having to touch other things. But at the end of the day, so what, right? Now, it is hard to recommend running stuff to folks because literally every human being on this planet runs differently. So I'll pose the question as, would I buy the Garmin Forerunner 55 if I needed a dedicated running watch? Yes, I think I would. I was originally going to compare this to the Apple Watch SE in terms of things you could get for a little bit more money, but you really have to spend almost twice as much to get the really good Apple Watch experience. I mean, cell phone connectivity, all of that stuff where you can just leave your phone in the car and have all your music just with you whenever. But if I needed a specific tool to track my runs, this would be it. And click here if you want to see what running with the Apple Watch Ultra for 2 years is like. Thanks for watching.